Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, as professional players seem to be returning to Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Lots of discussion about the history really with iLLeY on that title, playing with Scump and Dashy it seems just over the coming days. What could that potentially mean? Very much intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, RC's got the OnlyFans set up and ready to go. So yeah, I mean if you guys are interested, feel free to check it out in the description if I can be bothered to link it. I'm sure you guys can find it on your own if you want. I'm not sure what's going to be going up in here. I really do not want to know. This firstly from the COD League 182 days ago, pretty much 6 months ago as of now, the Toronto Ultra shook up the entire league by winning Major 2 and emerging as a true contender for the remainder of the season. Now, this was such a crazy moment really when this happened, that Ultra made this turnaround, because when they brought Insight in initially, when Methods was benched, they were like not particularly good for the first few matches. I'm pretty sure they snuck out of their group like 2-3 or something, maybe 3-2. Like they didn't do great. They lost to LA Thieves in that like game 5 round 11 in their first ever series, where Insight dropped 18 kills, or their first ever series with Insight, when he dropped like 18 kills on Miami Search and Destroy and almost 4,000 damage game 5, and they still lost that series in like round 11 or some crazy format like that. But it didn't seem like Ultra were going to be fantastic, but they really did turn it around, and the run they made at the Stage 2 Major was phenomenal, beating FaZe in the fashion they did. Bance had a 1.4 in the grand finals against the FaZe guys. This is a great moment for European Call of Duty, also for Ultra in general. Definitely cemented them on the map. I was just really impressed that generally when this happens to teams, like things go somewhat downhill afterwards, right? And maybe they don't maintain this caliber if they're not expected to be up this high. But for the rest of the season, they didn't place outside top 3. So definitely hoping they can continue this format going into next title. This also, right, so FormaL says, hey, happy birthday, Cammy, you're a beast. Excited to watch you play this year. Kind of strange to think about FormaL, yeah, happy to watch someone else play and not actually be competing, right? It's the first year in many a year that won't be the case for FormaL. As Cammy says, thank you, my man. I'll try my best to put on a show for you. So hopefully Cammy can keep up the performance he was doing, because the end of last title, he was one of the most entertaining players to watch. There is no doubt about that one. But of course, the OpTic guys, there's something pretty interesting going on over there. As Scump says right here, I need 3 for a Black Ops 3 show match versus FormaL tomorrow, that being tonight. 1k per person if we win. So Scump versus FormaL, T versus P, even though that's not really how it works, but T2P, they get up against each other. For, I don't know when the last time is they played each other. They did play each other when FormaL left, well, at least when the OpTic dynasty collapsed, FormaL went to Luminosity Gaming. They played each other a couple of times during that season on OpTic versus LG at the time. Pretty sure FormaL got the other hand one time, Scump got the other hand maybe the other time. Can't exactly remember what happened, but it's been quite a while since, of course, these guys have played against each other in any kind of like tournament type capacity. And this, of course, is just a show match, but I can't wait for this one. Black Ops 3 is such an entertaining title. Doug Martin on PC, the question mark comes through, so maybe he'll get involved in some way or another, but it turns out that wasn't the case. This comes out, of course, from the other side, so Scump needs 3, and FormaL, of course, needs 3 as well. I also need 3. My first 2 picks at Temp at Classic. Are you guys down? So FormaL trying to put his dream team together, what he wants to play with, and I mean, certainly Classic in a jetpack title, that's going to be pretty scary indeed. Very solid player throughout the entirety of that era, really. Especially Infinite Warfare. If this is an Infinite Warfare throwback, Classic is certainly a guy I think I want on my team. But yeah, Jackpack, you already know I'm keen. Who's our 4th? But Chiller comes in the reply. He wants to get he wants to get brought into the lineup. Doesn't seem that happened in the end. And then, of course, on the Scump side of things, who's he going to play with? You know, iLLeY comes straight back in there with the Black Ops 3 with the eyes emoji. iLLeY in Black Ops 3 is honestly another beast. This it's going to be so entertaining to watch this one. I guess they're going to get a little bit of warm-up time, right, to get ready for this tournament. Because if you get these guys in their full form and full capacity, I've been seeing some clips lately of players that have like still been playing Black Ops 3 for the last several years, just doing like wall runs and movement and this type of stuff. And like the way that game is played at the very highest level of movement and stuff is just outrageous. It's almost like in a way I kind of felt it was like Fortnite, where like if you're good at using the movement and like you're playing against public match kids that like have no idea what's going on, you can completely world star them and like take them to town. But if you're playing at the very highest level where people can actually abuse the movement to the highest degree, the game does get pretty ridiculous and uncompetitive, to be honest. The wall runs that can be done by the very best of the very best, and iLLeY certainly was one of those individuals. So this is how it goes down as Hitcher kind of finalizes what's going to be happening. Scump versus FormaL, $4,000 on the line. Black Ops 3 presented by Elgato tomorrow at 9 PM Eastern Time. Scump, iLLeY, Blast and Dashy. So, you know, what a surprise, right? We've got Dashy and iLLeY, the duo from, 2v2 Search and Destroy tourneys back in the day. Scump, of course, coming in on one side. Blast also coming into this. A pretty interesting, certainly a very promising Search and Destroy star. Not necessarily promising, but he was a very good Search and Destroy star back in the Black Ops 3 Search and Destroy type tourney, you know, Search and Destroy scene days. On the other side, you've got FormaL here, bringing in Envoy to his team alongside Temp and Classic, the 2 guys that were down. So this is honestly a really interesting set of teams. Envoy, I don't know how much he keyboarded versus how much he used a controller back in the day on this title, so maybe things could be a little bit difficult, but I'm pretty sure people were saying that he used to use a controller in at least one one of his hands to do the movement and stuff, and then he would aim with the mouse, but difficult to say who should be favourites to take this one down, because I think the team on the left is disgusting, but their FormaL's team isn't, well, it's not shabby either, right? Very solid players over here, so exciting to see how this one goes, and I thought it was interesting as well to look back on kind of the interactions that, that these guys had had in the past. This is a hilarious video if you guys haven't seen this before. I'll leave a link down below of like Killer after, well, this is Adam Killer Sloss, right? Black Ops 2 World Champion, inaugural World Champion. This is during like well, a chow that he played up against iLLeY, and he goes back in theatre mode and watches some of the movement that iLLeY is making, and this is kind of the original like mind-blowing movement type stuff. Like the movement he makes right here is really nice. This is relatively early, I suppose, into the title, maybe not so early, but at the point where people hadn't really figured out everything you can do. Like there was so much nuance to the movement that I mean, even the slow wall run that he does here, then he I mean, this ledge slide off this wall is just absolutely legendary. Like I mean, Killer is completely mind-blown the fact that he's gone from one side to the map in the other in no time at all, and this is just type of stuff that iLLeY was doing on the regular. Of course, like there was a load of great players that were doing crazy movement stuff like this, but I mean, still, iLLeY was certainly one of them, right? And during Black Ops 3, that's really where I first heard his name, right? And there was kind of the discussion at the time, like iLLeY versus Simp, who's the better player, because Simp was also doing ridiculous stuff in Search and Destroy Charles at the time. iLLeY certainly also in a very similar boat, and I mean, this is really where they kind of came on the scene, where iLLeY, I suppose, was like 14, 15 years old or something, which was pretty ridiculous to think about, really. And yeah, movement like this, hopefully you'll see a little bit more of this stuff in the show match that is just about coming up. But this also I found from back in 2017, so ages ago now, of course, kind of during that era, really, playing a tournament with Simp, with Cellium, with TurnUp, so kind of, I guess this was the E-United Cadets or whatever they were calling it at the time, versus the OpTic Dynasty FormaL, Scump, Karma, Crimsix. But not too long after that, iLLeY was actually brought in to kind of play with the OpTic guys in the early part of Black Ops 4. I'm pretty sure there was even people saying on the Reddit that FormaL had said one point during Modern Warfare that if they didn't get the starting team they wanted for the Chicago Huntsmen, with like, I guess they had Gunless at the start, like they actually were considering bringing iLLeY in, because as you can see here in 2018, during the start, like, I guess this is the Black Ops 4 days, finals, they're playing this tournament here, as you can see, iLLeY, Dashy, Scump, Cellium, Mutex versus these guys. So yeah, iLLeY, Dashy, and Scump have certainly been a trio that have been playing for quite some time. So really looking back at the last several years, you could certainly see a future in which iLLeY, Dashy, and Scump could become a trio on an actual team, and maybe looking at the hints the last few days and, well, few months and few years, arguably, stuff like this, you could, I suppose, have seen it coming from a while out. This also, as he says, you know, playing the Hitched Black Ops 3 throwback. I'm not sure who won this one, so I don't know if you guys, well, can find out, or if you guys remember who won this Black Ops 3 throwback tournament in 2018, 3 years ago now, that he played at the time with Dashy, Chija, Hallie, and Scump. So, as you can see, a very similar tourney that happened for the $5,000 as it was then. This is a $4,000 one, 3 years later, still with iLLeY, Dashy, Scump, but this time with Blast instead of TJ. So, that's the kind of stuff. Before, of course, iLLeY was particularly well known on the timeline, and there's some discussion between the two of them back in 2018. So, certainly some camaraderie between the two over many a title. Isn't really a massive surprise that he's going to be joining forces with them for, well, this upcoming event. And certainly this iLLeY, Dashy, Scump, and Blast team, I suppose, will go into this one as favourites. Just wanted to finish off with a couple of nice Lion Man cards. 2021 CDL LAN card. This is the Gunless one. So we looked a few days ago about what was going on elsewhere. Certainly the objectives for 10 minutes in our point, very impressive. So it'd be good to see Gunless have a nice comeback season here. I honestly think he was really solid last year for Seattle. Like, I think a lot of people were suggesting if there was one piece of the Seattle squad that you wanted to keep, if you were Seattle and you had the option, it's very possible that Gunless's contract didn't really, at least he had the choice maybe, because if Seattle bought out the contract that he still had from Huntsman last year, the kind of 1+1 deal, then he would have been a free agent at the end of this year anyway, and kind of do what he wanted. But some people were suggesting, okay, if Seattle give it back to someone, maybe it's Gunless to keep him around, because I think he had a massive comeback year, really, in terms of all the roles he was running, and I just think, given the team was absolutely dreadful, he did at least look particularly good on that roster. Standy as well, though, like, this is, of course, a guy who completely made it up. We talked earlier today about scraps and how it's kind of difficult if you want to grind through challenges and make that work, but, I mean, yeah, clearly Standy was a guy who made that work, come from pretty much nothing, being talked about for a few years at this point, to do great things for the Minnesota Rokkr through the latter half of part of the year, but also when it went to land towards the ends. Like, this guy was obviously no slouch, as you can see right here, which is generally new players. People say, okay, you're coming to LAN, are you going to perform quite as well as you would have done otherwise if it had been in the online era? And just wanted to finish off with this as well from our round 11 stats, when we did kind of discuss this, the ICS round 11 teams. An interesting piece of trivia comes out: 3 players clutched a round 11 1 versus 3 this season. Can you name all 3? So of course, accuracy is the first one that comes to mind. The other one being Dashy, right, who did us so I got up against the Florida Mutineers on Raid, if you guys remember that one. And supposedly the other one is Shotzi, which I can't quite remember. I know he did a 1v4 against OpTic. I can't quite remember his 1v3, who that was against, but I'm sure you guys can remind me in the comments section. Very much intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really upset that YouTube are going I know you enjoy this content, other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.
Are you beaming?
Top window hurt. Top window hurt. You back down. One more is back to base. Give me back to base. Let's slot arm, aLLeY with the best. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Dashy in the next round. Holy.
Bro, I'm literally beating him up the side back there, base.
Oh, nasty. Everybody on this team is just.
Go, baby. That's what I'm talking about, boy. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
look, you want to go check the mail, see if I got my roller.
Alright, well, after we...
We guys on B bomb.
Oh, he's one on a bomb. On a bomb.
Nice, bro. Just always give me free 50 points right here, bro.
Nice work, Black Ops. Get ready for the next round.
I'm boulder.
Right. At the
I'm
worst
boulder.
angle
I'm boulder weak.
ever.
I'm boulder weak. I'm boulder weak.
They're boulder.
Any bottom? Yo, sell, make noise, make middle, just shoot.
Alright.
I don't know why I glitched, man. Sure.
Work. Crack.
Oh my god, this kid's a goat. Guys, our side, MC.
Well star.
What are you?
Got this, our side.
Nice.
Dude, they gotta be all broken.
Oh my god, Illy.
There's nobody broken.
They
Picked
gotta
up
be
bomb.
broken.
I
Back
backed up.
You guys glitched in the car.
Church, hold on.
Okay,
Yeah,
one.
that's just
Never kill.
Yeah, I'm planning for top
You guys
stuff.
like double, they're both there.
Nice hit street.
B wall and top left. Other guys unknown. My brown broken actually.
Oh, you're nasty. Run a green.
We have the satellite.
He's grab green, he's top green, top green.
He's green, dead. One more here. Ah, there's one behind me. There's two top green. They're not even worried about you, bro.
I just